Out front tonight, the breaking news is explosive. We have obtained an exclusive report that has never been seen before. K-File has unearthed photographs of Jeffrey Epstein that shed new light on his long-standing relationship with Donald Trump. The revelations come at a time when Trump is facing criticism from members of his own political base over the Justice Department's handling of the so-called Epstein files. Donald Trump has made efforts, of course, to distance himself from Epstein in every possible way. But one of the photographs uncovered by K-File confirms that Jeffrey Epstein actually attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. This is the proof, and it has never been published before. This is a new image. You will not find it circulating on X or any other platform. The photograph captures Epstein entering the Plaza Hotel in New York City on December 20th, 1993, the date of Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. This image places Epstein at the center of their friendship, which continued for years afterward. Ladies and gentlemen, stop scrolling. What I am about to share may be the most underreported story in American politics, and it involves the sitting president of the United States in ways that should concern every single American citizen. There are potentially 100 million files connected to Jeffrey Epstein that the public has never seen. Let that number sink in for a moment. 100 million documents, videos, emails, photographs, and financial records. To provide context, Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples in 1993 was considered the wedding of the century by the media at the time. Although it has long been known that Trump and Epstein were friends during this period, this is the first time it has been reported that Epstein was actually invited to the wedding. It is important to note that this occurred more than a decade before the first allegations of sex trafficking involving Epstein became public. These photographs are genuinely never before seen. Additional materials include video footage obtained by investigators showing Trump and Epstein conversation, which also has never surfaced publicly. This video is from 1999, 6 years after the wedding, and it provides a rare glimpse into their continued association. All of this evidence is currently sitting in federal custody. While the Department of Justice releases tiny crumbs of information and calls it transparency, the public has seen only roughly 2% of what actually exists. That means 98% of every piece of evidence collected from Epstein's properties remains hidden, locked away behind closed doors, inaccessible to the public. And sitting in the White House during all of this is Donald Trump, a man whose name has been intertwined with Epstein for decades. Let us examine the political implications. Looking at President Donald John Trump, the numbers are staggering. Current polling data indicates approval ratings at second-term lows. The Associated Press shows 26 points below water. NBC is 22 points below water. NPC is 22 points below water. And Quinnipiac is 19 points below water. These numbers are far worse than anything seen in previous terms. Many are asking where the floor is for Donald Trump. The truth is, it is unclear if there is any floor remaining. He has seemingly fallen to a new low. Recent developments have revealed the massive scope of the Epstein evidence trove. When federal investigators raided Epstein's properties, they seized between 20 and 50 terabytes of data. For those who do not speak in technical terms, 50 terabytes is an almost unimaginable amount of information. The files include emails, documents, videos, photographs, and financial records involving some of the most powerful individuals in the world. While the Department of Justice released 3 million pages of material in January 2026, this represents only a fraction of the total. 3 million pages may sound significant, but if it represents only 2% of the total, then 98% remains unseen. It is as if someone handed you the first chapter of a 1,000-page book and claimed you now know the entire story. It is absurd on its face. Even within this limited January release, massive portions of information were blacked out. At least 550 pages were fully redacted, meaning not a single word was legible. There was a consecutive block of 255 pages consisting solely of black ink from top to bottom. Additionally, a 90-page grand jury transcript was completely withheld from public view. This is not transparency. It is a controlled drip feed designed to create the illusion of openness while protecting the individuals whom the government does not want the public to know about. Internal emails from federal investigators suggest the total amount of data seized could be as high as 50 terabytes. To put that in perspective, that's an almost unimaginable amount of material. When broken down into individual files, it could translate into 50 million, 80 million, or even 100 million documents, emails, photographs, videos, financial records, and other forms of evidence. Yet, despite the staggering scale of the seizure, only 3 million pages have been released to the public so far. That means what we've seen represents only the smallest fraction of the overall material. For most Americans, it raises an immediate uncomfortable question. What's in the other 98%? Who is being protected by keeping these files hidden? Which powerful individuals or organizations are shielded from scrutiny? And which crimes or unethical actions remain concealed behind these digital walls? These are not wild conspiracy theories. They are questions being asked by journalists, legal analysts, and even lawmakers who helped pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act, legislation designed specifically to force the Department of Justice to make more of this material available. The scale of what's still unreleased is almost incomprehensible. Imagine tens of millions of emails, video files, and financial ledgers stacked together, an archive of human activity that could reveal patterns, relationships, and behaviors previously unknown. Every day that the files remain sealed is another day that the public is left in the dark. Legal experts have pointed out that these files could hold the keys to understanding networks of influence, patterns of criminal activity, and potentially cover-ups at the highest levels. Every unreleased document is a missing puzzle piece, and the public has seen only a sliver of the picture so far. Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act because they recognize the urgency of this gap. The goal is clear: to prevent selective disclosure, to ensure that justice is not delayed or denied, and to hold accountable those who may have evaded scrutiny through secrecy. Yet, months after the Act's passage, the DOJ has made little progress toward fully complying, fueling frustration and suspicion among lawmakers and the media alike. The questions now are unavoidable. What is in the remaining 98% of the files? When will the public finally have access? And how many relationships, connections, or crimes are still hidden, waiting for someone to uncover them? The scale, the secrecy, and the potential implications make this one of the most significant revelations of our time. The files do not just document events. They have the power to reshape public understanding of a system long criticized for protecting the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. Some of the material that has been released so far contains shocking claims. Buried within these documents is an unverified FBI tip alleging that Donald Trump may have witnessed the killing and disposal of an infant born to a 13-year-old trafficking victim. Let me be absolutely clear. This tip has not been proven. It remains unverified. However, the mere fact that such a claim exists in the FBI files, the fact that someone felt compelled to report it to federal authorities, and the continued appearance of Trump's name in Epstein-related material explains the immense pressure to make all of the files public. If evidence supporting such claims exists, the public has a right to know. If it does not, releasing the files would help clear Trump's name. So why is there resistance? Why are allies fighting to keep the vault sealed? This brings us to the political battle currently unfolding in Washington. Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act to force the Department of Justice to release more material to the public. The DOJ's response has been to assert that the January release fulfills their legal obligations. However, when compared to the volume of material documented in internal communications, the gap is enormous. The Department of Justice acts as if it emptied the filing cabinet, when in reality it barely opened the drawer. Critics argue that the sheer volume of unreleased material indicates that something highly damaging is being concealed. After all, one does not fight so aggressively to keep 98% of the files hidden unless there is information that powerful people do not want the world to see. There is a pattern here that mirrors Donald Trump's behavior in other areas. Consider the classified documents case, where Trump faced charges for storing sensitive national security material at Mar-a-Lago. The pattern is always the same: hoard information, limit public access, and attack anyone who requests transparency. Whether it is classified documents or Epstein files, the behavior is identical. Trump's allies argue that further releases are politically motivated attacks designed to harm the president. They frame additional disclosures as a witch hunt and claim that the media cherry-picks content to make Trump appear guilty. While there are legitimate privacy concerns for sexual abuse victims, which must always be respected, the public interest in potential crimes involving some of the most powerful individuals on the planet outweighs the desire of these individuals to keep secrets buried. The timing of this situation is critical. Trump is currently in office and possesses the power to influence how the DOJ handles these materials. He could direct his attorney general to accelerate releases or slow them down. He could pick up the phone tomorrow and say, "Release everything. Show the world there is nothing to hide." Yet he has not done this, and his allies are not advocating for it either. Instead, they are pushing for fewer releases, not more. The limited releases and inconsistent messaging from Trump's Justice Department have allowed conspiracy theories and unanswered questions to flourish. The more information is hidden, the more suspicion grows. The louder the public demands transparency, the harder Trump's team works to limit disclosure. It is a cycle that will only end when the truth is revealed. The scale of the materials involved is staggering. 50 terabytes of data could contain tens of millions of individual files. Documents, spreadsheets, emails, videos, photographs, financial records, and communications between Epstein and powerful individuals in his network. The public has seen only about 2% of this information. Imagine a murder trial where the jury is permitted to see only 2% of the evidence. Would that be justice? Would that be transparency? Clearly not. Yet this is the reality with one of the largest criminal cases in modern American history. The redactions alone tell a story. Hundreds of pages are blacked out. 255 consecutive pages contain nothing but black ink. A 99-page grand jury transcript has been entirely withheld. Redactions can serve legitimate purposes, such as protecting national security, safeguarding victims, or preserving ongoing investigations. However, when entire blocks of hundreds of pages are blacked out, this is no longer surgical redaction. This is a wall, a deliberate effort to prevent public access. The question every American should ask is simple. Who benefits from hiding these files? 98% still hidden, and a president who could open the vault but will not. If this does not convey the magnitude of the situation, then nothing will. The story is unprecedented. The stakes are enormous, and the implications extend far beyond politics. This is about justice, accountability, and the fundamental principle that no one should be above the law. It is certainly not the victims. Advocates and survivors have been demanding transparency for years. Donald Trump could end speculation immediately. He could instruct the Department of Justice to release every file that does not compromise an active investigation or endanger a victim. He could appear on national television and declare, "I have nothing to hide, and here is the proof." Instead, what we see is a continuation of the same strategy. Allies demand that releases cease, and the DOJ claims that its legal obligations are fulfilled despite evidence to the contrary. This is a familiar playbook for Trump. Control information, limit public access, and attack those who ask questions, while hoping the news cycle moves on before the dots are connected. This story is not solely about Donald Trump. It is about whether powerful people can evade accountability. Jeffrey Epstein operated a criminal enterprise that exploited children and vulnerable individuals for decades, aided by some of the wealthiest and most connected individuals on the planet. The files held by federal authorities contain critical evidence showing who these individuals are, who visited Epstein's properties, and who knowingly ignored the abuse. Every day the files remain hidden is another day. Justice is delayed for victims who have already waited far too long. Processing this material is technologically feasible. Artificial intelligence can scan millions of documents within hours. Corporations handle this scale of data every day. Law firms routinely process millions of pages during legal discovery in major cases. The challenge is not technological, it is political. Someone has decided that the American people are not permitted to see the full contents of these files. Until that changes, the public is left guessing about what the 98% of unreleased material actually contains. The silence itself has become the story. Every redacted page is a question mark. Every blocked release fuels speculation that something terrible is being concealed. When a president whose name is associated with Epstein sits in the Oval Office while his team works to limit transparency, the narrative writes itself. Whether one believes Trump is guilty or unfairly targeted, full transparency is the only way to settle the matter. And full transparency is precisely what those in power refuse to provide. The story will continue to grow. Congressional pressure is not waning. Media scrutiny will not disappear. Public demand for answers is intensifying. As investigative journalists delve into the unreleased terabytes of material, leaks and revelations are inevitable. This situation represents a ticking time bomb beneath Trump's presidency and the reputations of countless other powerful individuals whose names may not yet be known. When the information is fully revealed, the fallout will transform American perceptions of power, corruption, and justice for an entire generation. 100 million files, 2% released,